So I've asked you guys on Instagram, give me your best big calls / hot takes ahead of the 2025 season. And today we're going to be going through some of them. Hopefully they're not all bloody shit. All right, let's start off with Luke McMahon. He reckons that the Hawks are going to go 0-6 to start off the season. Now, I actually don't know if he thinks it's going to happen or if he is just saying it's going to happen, because it's not going to happen. We're not stuck in 2024. Yeah, the Hawks are probably not going to be as good as everyone's making them out to be, but if they start the season 0-6, I might actually jump into the Yarra. I'm that confident that that's not going to happen. But the next one might be even less likely of happening. Maccabee reckons that Richmond are going to make the 8 with all the youngsters they have in their list. Mate, they're not even going to make the top 17. Making the 8 is a crazy call for Richmond. Let's be honest. I think we're all predicting them to finishing bottom. Will reckons the Pies are going to go 26-0. Actually, I'm just going to say it's not impossible. So theoretically, they could do that if they won all 23 games and then they're 3 games in finals. Yeah, we're not off to a good start. Geordie says Jeremy Cameron to kick 1 goal. Well, are we taking the piss with these ones? Or Alvin Jones says Richmond to kick 10 goals. Yeah, I'm done. What is this crap? I'm done with this shit. All right, Riley Nisbet. A top 4 team finishes in the bottom 4. Okay, that's actually a possibility. I'm not against this. The only issue is, right, we look at the bottom 4 for 2024, right? You have North Melbourne, West Coast, Richmond. They're not going to make top 4, let alone top 8. It leaves Adelaide, the only team that could maybe do it, but the chances are extremely slim. I mean, the Crows could make the 8. But to make a top 4 spot, I almost feel like there's no chance that happens. Jake says Geelong to have 4 players to make the All-Australian squad. If this is 2007 to 2011 Cats, this would it'd be a big call if it wasn't the case. Now, the Cats, I think, are going to be a really good side in 2025, but they don't rely on stars to get it done for them, which is why I don't think in the last couple of years we've seen too many plays in the All-Australian squad for Geelong teams. For sure, the most realistic one we've seen, but I don't think it's going to happen. I just feel like the Cats have so many even contributors. This one's actually a bit interesting. Gold Coast to have 3 All-Australians in its squad. This certainly wouldn't have ever happened in history. I don't even think Gold Coast have had multiple, let alone 3. If this is to happen, let's be honest, they'd have to make finals, I reckon, to have 3 players worthy enough to make the squad. Gold Coast do have options, like their midfielders in Rao, Miller, Anderson. If Ben King can have a season where he kicks 60+ goals, maybe, that'll get him a spot. Now, just want to point this out, with all the people responding, saying that the Saints are going to, finish top 4, start 6-0, or win the goddamn flag. They're delusional. Even I'm not this delusional. I mean, this is just wishful thinking at its finest. Have you seen our entry list? A lot of people think the Dockers are going to win the flag. Now, I don't know if they're joking or if they're serious. The Dockers are a very hyped side heading into 2025, and obviously they haven't won a flag yet. They're heading into their 30th year in the AFL. I'm on board the Dockers this year as much as the next guy, but Ryder, you got to knock this shit off, mate. All right, this one's certainly more likely happening. AFL legend reckons Crows to finish higher than Port. I think this could happen. Obviously, Port Adelaide, the more likely chance of finishing higher, finishing in the 8 last year. But I think the Crows, they're going to be an alright side this year. And Port Adelaide, I'm a potential chance for seeing them dropping. I think if we review this is probably going to be the first one we might get correct. Hayden reckons that the Tigers don't finish last. Now, you know a side's going to be really bad heading into a season when it's a big call for them to not finish last. And there's a reason why every creator under the sun has Richmond finishing dead last. And then I don't remember the last time where it's been that guaranteed for it to happen. Like, look at the sports bet odds. If there's a side to finish 18th apart from Richmond, maybe West Coast, they have another bad year, but they'll be better than Richmond. I can't see this one happening. Hayden, I'm sorry, mate. Luke McMahon says Clarko will get sacked if they don't win 7 or more games. I can't see Clarko getting sacked even if they win 0 games. Even though he hasn't really made as much of a mark as what we probably thought he would have at this stage for North Melbourne, this is certainly the year for them. If they don't finish outside the bottom 4 and win at least 8 games, personally, I think it's a failure. And North are like Carlton. They keep sacking coaches every other year thinking the solution is going to change when it never does. So I wouldn't sack Clarko even if they lose every game by over 100. Well, actually, if they do that, Clarko can go fuck off. A few people reckon North can make finals. Now, I don't know if these people are being serious. As mentioned before, like, it's just too much of a step for them to make it into the top 8. I think, aim for maybe 8 or more wins. Aim to escape outside the bottom 4. But I wouldn't be aiming for finishing top 8. It's going to be a hard top 8 to crack into this year. And these delusional North Melbourne fans, it's not going to happen. All right, let me tell you that. Zay reckons Geelong to finish first, but go out in straight sets. Now, I think there will be a side in 2025 that does finish out in straight sets, whether it is Geelong, whether it's Hawthorn, whether it's whoever it is. It could happen. I think the Cats are a bit too experienced for that to be the case. Like, I could see him maybe losing one final and then winning another. Probably not going out in straight sets, though. When was the last time Geelong have gone out in straight sets? Harvey McLennan reckons Pendlebury plays on and breaks the record for games in 2026. Now, I think with the way Pendlebury's going, he probably does have another couple years left in him, as long as he doesn't like fade out completely this year. If you can see like a big drop off in form, I don't think he plays on, but I think he will play on. I actually quite like this one. I think there's a good chance it might happen. Not so much with this one. Harvey also reckons that Danger, Fife and Pembles all retire. Probably not. I think Danger might have another couple years left in him. Fife is the most likely of the lot, to be honest. I think Fife, if he doesn't have a good year in 2025, I think he's going to hang up the boots. Yeah, it's not going to happen, I guess, if Pendles continues. So I think Pendles will continue, which means none of these, in my opinion, will end up happening. Sad Sainer, I'd love this if this was true. St Kilda to not lose a game at Marvel Stadium. Like, okay, forget I'm a Saints fan, but this isn't that much of a brain dead take. It's a possibility. The Saints did make Marvel their fortress last year. The problem is with Marvel and the Saints, I think they play like 13 games a year, so they play a couple extras. And even in 2009, when St Kilda won like 21 games, we still lost to North Melbourne, who were 13th at Marvel Stadium. One can only hope that you're right, Sad Sainer. If there's any to be right so far in the video, well, apart from St Kilda win the flag. But no, most likely scenario, we'll lose round 2 to Geelong, and it'll kickstart another year of garbage for the Saints. Now, whilst one reckons Saints might not lose a game at Marvel, another reckons the Crows might go undefeated in Victoria. What do you reckon is more likely? I think definitely the second one, to be honest, because, I mean, how many games do Adelaide play in Vic? 5, 6? Yes, it is interstate for them, but they have less games, and I almost say Adelaide are the better side on paper, and they're actually a decent side when they play away. They just can't get up the results. So, you know, they've played Collingwood in recent memory where they've lost by under a goal twice. I'd be honestly surprised if they have a positive win-loss record in Victoria. I don't think it will happen. The Crows aren't a great side interstate, but I would like to see them do a ride in Victoria. That'd be pretty good. Crouchy reckons that Ashcroft will beat Dacos in the Brownlow count. I don't hate this. I don't think it'll happen, but I don't hate this because we haven't seen a full year from Will Ashcroft yet. Assuming you're not talking about fucking Levi. We've just seen so much more footy from Dacos, and I think just with the role that he plays in the Collingwood side, it's almost going to be impossible to not see him rack up more votes than any other player really, let alone Ashcroft. But I think he'll rack up a lot. This time Razor Footy wants to jump on the bandwagon. He's going that there'll be a 3-way split in the Brownlow. We haven't seen a joint Brownlow medal winner for a very long time. The last time was in 2012, but I mean, that didn't happen live. So as a kid, I've never witnessed a Brownlow medal count happening live where there's been a tie. In the early 2000s, players were winning the Brownlow medal with half of the amount of votes Cripps got in his medal. So the chances are less likely for that to occur, but it would be cool. Now, we did get a lot of responses with the same sort of generic stuff. For example, the sides that will miss the 8, what sides will make the 8. Sides that people reckon will miss the 8, we've got Sydney, Brisbane, Hawthorn, Port. Now, of those 4 teams, to be honest with you, Sydney for mine are the most likely. Sydney and Port, I think both sides might drop. I think Brisbane would be certainly a big call. Hawthorn, potentially with a hype, I'd say as well. And teams to make the 8 from, you know, not finishing in the 8 last year, Adelaide, Melbourne, Gold Coast, Saints. I don't know, of those 4 teams, I think the Crows are probably more likely. I'm a bit more bullish on them than the others. Saints, I want to say them, but hey, I'm going to stay out of it. And Gold Coast, well, we haven't seen it in 15 years. And Melbourne, I don't think they'll be good. So who do you think down below of those 4 teams are most likely of making the 8? Crows Flies 1 reckons there'll be 7 draws in the home and away season. 7? No. There's not going to be 7 draws. I don't even know what the record would be in modern day AFL history. Maybe 3? 4 potentially, maybe in 2017, but 7, it's not going to happen this year, let alone in 50 years. I genuinely don't think in the next 100 years there'll be a season with 7 draws. It's just that hard. Draws are that rare in the AFL these days. Suns coach to be sacked. No, I can't see this happening. I mean, they're not going to sack bloody Damien Hardwick after his second year. He won 3 flags at the Tigers. He believes most of their club is a part of the premiership side. He's not going to be sacked. It'd have to be an absolute disaster for that to be the case. The Suns to make the home Elam final. I think that's more likely. But despite all that, I think the chance of this are like less than 1%. But think about it. The Suns haven't made finals yet. Can we really back them in for that? And then for them to finish in the top 6, if they make the finals, the Suns, it'll be at an 8th place position. Stefan is another delusional believer that the Bombers will break their streak and win a final. Not with the way they've been going about it the last couple of years. They'd be lucky to break out of the bottom 4. Genuinely. I like this one from Henry, quite creative. So he reckons that Freo will be just borderline in the 8 with 5 rounds to go, and then they'll win their last 5 games of the season to finish top 2. West Coast, first game, that they should win that. Then they play Carlton at home, they should win that. Then they play Port. It's never easy playing Port out of the way, but I feel like with how Freo are going to be this year, I think they're capable of possibly beating anyone anywhere. So It isn't easy. Then they've got Brisbane at home and then the Bulldogs away. I wouldn't say they win 5 games there, and especially not with the way they finished last year. They're more likely to lose those 5 games, to be honest. Ethan says that Nick Watson kicks 50 or more goals. That would guarantee you a spot in the All-Australian, no doubt. And look, Watson, I think he'll be a good player. I just think people are still overrating him a little bit. I don't think his output will be nearly as good as 50 goals in 2025. I think maybe 35. That would be really good as a second-year small forward. But people are forgetting, it's his second year. 50 goals in a year. If he does that, again, maybe I will jump in the Yarra with a wizard hat on. I like this one, though. Membry, McStay, and Mycheck to combine for 70 or more goals. I think Membry alone can combine for more than half of those, to be honest. Someone that the Saints shouldn't have let go. Now, obviously, with King possibly being injured, we do need that forward replacement. But even if it wasn't for that, I think he's a really solid player. Valuable to add to the squad and can kick the 2 or 3 goals a game if needed to be. He's going to kick 40 or more for the Pies. I just know it's going to happen. Like, he's been tearing it up apparently in the preseason. It would not surprise me if he kicks the 40 and then McStay and Mycheck only need the 30 or more, and I think that'll certainly happen. So who knows? They might combine for 100 goals. Like, if that happens, I wouldn't even be that shocked. Bit of footy reckons that Larkey could win the Coleman now that the forward line's a bit more freed up, which is fair. I mean, Darling will take away one of the better defenders, potentially Larkey after a poorer 2024. I just don't think North will get enough entries, but he is very accurate. He's one of the most accurate set shots in the modern era. So he makes the most of his chances. That's probably one thing that sets him apart from some of the other forwards. Jay Verdino 17 reckons that there'll be no team to win 15 or more games. So let's just say the maximum amount of wins is 15 in a year for any team. Again, I don't think this has happened in the modern era in the AFL. A team finishing first with 15 wins. Most of the time, if a team finishes first, they've gotten at least 17, 18 wins, but 15, like, that would make for such an even competition. I wouldn't be opposed to it happening. I think it'd be cool because it would mean the race to the top 4, the top 2, the top 8 would be much closer. The chances, though, are so low because I just don't think it's happened. Has a team since 1990 done this? Imagine this happens. Home and away crowd reaches 100,000. It won't, though. Like, if it's at the MCG, they might say to sell out, but almost always there are normally, some vacant seats of members that have a ticket but decide not to go to the game, which I think is pretty crap. Like, if it's a sellout game and people aren't able to go, why can't they give those tickets away? Look, in an ultimate perfect round, this should be happening at a regular basis in a season with Anzac Day games and all that, but it just won't. Like, the highest crowd, my prediction is probably going to be like a 94,000. Alistair reckons that the Dacos brothers will both do their ACLs. Why have this as a prediction? The final one I've handpicked that has been submitted is from Lachlan, and he's saying, as an Eagles fan, I'm pretty sure, that the Eagles will finish higher than Essendon and Melbourne. I do think Essendon and Melbourne will be poor in 2025. Don't get your hopes up too high, Lachlan. The Eagles are still going to be pretty shit. And thank you for the people that said that I'd hit 60,000 subscribers as their big call, but it's not really a big call because it's happening. To help me reach that goal, though, subscribe right down below if you haven't already. And now what we'll be doing is going through a few of my selected big calls that I think could happen in 2025. All right, first up, we have 2 sides that didn't make the 8 last year will finish in the top 4. Yeah, probably most likely looking at sides like Collingwood and Fremantle, which I think is certainly a chance of happening. Next up, we have Marvel Stadium to have 3 crowds of over 50k. Now, we haven't really seen crowds of over 50k for a while. We did see one last year. I think we're going to get a few more this year with Collingwood playing some more games at Marvel, and I think crowd numbers are just on the rise, which is a good thing. All right, my third one is that North Melbourne, I reckon, will beat 2 or more top 8 teams in 2025. I think this is their year to take some scalps, and I think they could do it. Richmond won't get a win until at least round 15. I think their best chance is round 9 against West Coast, but I'm going to say they don't win that. And I'm going to say they might still win. I'm not going to say they don't, but I'm going to say it'll take until at least round 15 for them to find their first win. Gold Coast to go 8-2 and then full out of the 8. Similar to last year, I think they've got an easy start to the fixture. They'll have a high rise. They'll win those games in Darwin and then go, whee! Next up, we have Hawthorn to go out in straight sets. I think, as a young side, they could rush into the top 4 and then just not have the finals experience and needing another year maybe for that. Next up, I'm going to say Nasai Wangan and Malera gets a spot on the halfback flank side in the All-Australian squad. He's an absolute star. He's a star in the making, already playing some great footy. And I'm going to go one more random one. I think if there's a player that probably hasn't really established himself yet as a key forward, Logan McDonald. He'll have a big year for Sydney just randomly and kick 50 or more goals. All right, well, those are my big calls for 2025 and obviously your big calls as well. I thought bringing them back, you know, get the Instagram followers involved. For anyone that wants to maybe be involved next time, just make sure to follow my Instagram. It's up on the screen right there. Not only can you be, you know, featured if I ever do one of these again, which I probably will, but, you know, I post a lot of, you know, exclusive short form content on there, and also there'll be my posts throughout the footy season. So if you could follow the Instagram, that'd be great. If you could subscribe, that would be great. And if you could like the video, that would be great as well. And yeah, until then, we'll see you soon in my next one. Thank you all for watching.